Hi guys.
Hi.
How's it going?
How you doing?
So you've been smoking this place. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's been great fun.
Yeah.
Hard work.
Now I've been letting you do your thing. I've been off in my office, but I've been in and out, and what little I've heard so far is just phenomenal.
Yeah, wait till tomorrow when we get it right. No, I mean tomorrow will be because we're going to run the whole program down again and tighten it all up. So I think it's good.
Well, a lot of people told me not to do this. They said that this was not going to work because your chemistry was wrong. And the reason they said that it wouldn't work is because your approach to improvisation was so different. I mean, you're very culturally different, of course. But a lot of people know that, Jimmy, you advocate a method of playing that involves pitch collections, and you don't use scales, and you don't use modes so much, although you're clearly trained in those things and know them, but have consciously chosen to not teach in that way. And I know, Andreas, you advocate using scales and modes as the way to learn.
Because that's the way.
Because that's the way you came up. It's the way you learned. Now, you both played great, so I can't say Jimmy's method is right or Andreas's method right, because look what both methods produced.
You know,
but there are some issues.
All the methods are right. I mean, there's a lot of roads to. Here's where you need to get to be any kind of instrumentalist. Is we play guitar, okay? So, but let's take a saxophone player for example, okay? He's blowing through a tube, so he's very close to the voice. He's making sound, okay? For me, I was able to make music when I connected the sounds, right, to the fingers. And that's when you can make music. So whatever method gets you to that point.
Yeah, because when we play together, both of us, we hear what we play. You know, we know the song. When we play a song, like we hear the song, we hear the changes, we play over the changes. And when I play something, Jimmy will answer and lead that into something new, and I will catch some of that, and we will get a new direction. That's what's so fun and so much
and if
joy and pleasure when we play.
If you can't get the ear to hear, to connect that connection to the guitar, you're nowhere. Doesn't matter what you say.
It doesn't matter if you know 100 scales. If you don't hear the scales, you have no use for it. It's just like we have different approach of getting to different ways of getting to the same
place.
Yeah.
Well, I guess what I don't understand is, I mean, I've studied Jimmy's method. Most people that are watching this know that that's how I started this whole enterprise, was working with Jimmy as a student. So I've studied Jimmy's method, and prior to Jimmy's method, I struggled with mode books and scale books and that approach. And Jimmy's approach worked better for me. I know from talking to a lot of Jimmy's students that the approach that Jimmy takes works better for a number of people. And yet, probably it's still the minority of people. If you look at the whole universe of people studying jazz guitar and all the programs all over the world, it's probably more of a scales and modes approach.
Well, a lot of guys get stuck in the scales and modes, and that's a huge problem. Because they buy a book, they read about it, and they have all this information, but still they don't take the time of like hearing every mode. Like each and every mode is like a feeling. It's a different feel to each mode. It's like, just like
different color.
Different colors, yeah, exactly. And if you don't really hear or feel those colors, if it's just a number of notes to you, then it doesn't do any good. So if you're gonna work with scales and modes, you need to work just as much with your ears. That's what I try to put emphasis on my site, in combination with. It's like when you're learning in a language. I think it's good to learn as many words as possible, because then you can be free when you talk. But of course, you must hear it, and you must know what it means, instead of if you just putting it like a lot of words, blah 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 blah. It says nothing, So that's a challenge. That's difficult.
That's the hard part.
Well, I'd like to get Jimmy to talk about something then, because I mean I totally get what you're saying, because I can listen to a mode and hear that color. They have either a very minor sound or a major sound or some sort of a exotic sound, and you just pick it up, and each mode has a different one. And so I can understand that if you could somehow take the time and have the energy and the stamina to learn them all, that would be a great way to do it. But in your approach, Jimmy, which is also in the end about hearing, you get there a different way. Talk about how you do it without going through the modes. If I haven't memorized the modes, which provided the color kind of feeling, how do you get to the same thing without doing that?
The guitar, the way the guitar is built, gave me the answer. Because if I play, okay, well, what mode is that? I don't know. Is it D Dorian? Is it G Mixolydian? I don't know. If I play, if I put it over a C chord, then it's C Ionian or D Dorian or G Mixolydian. Okay, even though each, like, the characteristic sound of a Mixolydian is, that's the note. And believe it or not, the characteristic sound of a Dorian mode is the note that doesn't sound good on D minor. That's the note that makes it Dorian, the B. This is what I know about, right? Okay. So in other words, without a context, okay, you can't really tell what I'm going to play. Or if I did a good classic example, could be blues, could be rhythm changes. Okay, so I found out a long time ago that this G Mixolydian, this D Dorian, and then C, okay, are all the same notes. And so when I was learning, I was doing, you know, that's all the education, that's all the material that was around. And I think probably the first guy to organize it was Jamie Amersall. I don't know for sure. That's my guess.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I realized that, you know, they're all the same notes. Each mode is the same notes. Okay. Now, if I had played a saxophone or a piano, I might feel differently about it. Okay. But I noticed that all those notes, my choices of notes, are all here. Okay, just to put them in one, you have to start in one spot before you can go. Okay, so it's all the white notes of the piano. So depending on what the chord progression is, you know, you start very simply. If somebody was going, even if they did all these substitutions for a 1-6-2-5, if I sat at the piano, and I don't play piano, but I can see all the white notes, and I know that if I make a good melody, it's going to work. Okay, and this is all the things that I would see in transcriptions. Like, for example, I'd see. Like this chord, if somebody played this chord, you know, like for the 6. You know, a lot of Sinatra music. It's in the orchestration. So if I analyzed it up and down, and I'd see people play without the C sharp. But it has to be in context. If you isolate the chord, then it sounds funny. But I would see it in transcriptions, saxophone, piano players, you know. And so it isn't necessary to go, okay? It's certainly a choice, okay? But how do you explain okay? So in other words, I realized that it wasn't up and down. It wasn't like, what can I play over this chord? Play anything over it, really, if you got an ear, right? Okay. So it just occurred to me that if you could learn to make a melody, a line, okay, and what makes a good line? I don't know. But before you can do that, you have to figure out if this is all the guitar that there was, this fret, okay, and that much, okay. There's all 12 notes are in there. So if you can make a convincing line, because I watched my own playing, I watched my own hands, and also when I was learning, I was reading transcriptions of Charlie Parker and stuff like that. When I go to analyze it, there'd always be some exception to a rule, it would seem, okay? And that you could make the theory fit the music afterwards, okay? And the other thing, to be clear, is that I think, for me, the purpose of practicing scales was to learn how to play the guitar. I mean, you've got to have this, to play anything, any instrument. You've got to, that's what they do. You learn all the scales. A lot of people would go like this. Et cetera, et cetera. So you can play music. So you can not play music to play the guitar.